Hey everyone, it's Justin. Thank you for watching and or listening to the podcast, and welcome to my house. It's time for another ServiceNow Store highlights video. That's SSH version 11.25 2024. If you're in the US or the United States, it's Thanksgiving week, so this will be our Thanksgiving episode. We only have 34 new or updated applications in the ServiceNow Store since our last episode. Much more reasonable amount of applications for me to go through and categorize and review for you all. But let's take a look at how that broke down. We have 6 compatibility updates. Everybody's getting their applications ready for Xanadu. 2 fixes, 1 ghost application, which we'll verify as we go throughout, 4 highlights, 10 minor updates, 7 new releases, and 4 release notes failed. So let's jump right in, take a look at those compatibility updates. Again, those were to Xanadu, and they include AT&T e-bonding, Hexaware shift handover management, Nucation, Orca security for vulnerability response, SecureWorks Tagus ITSM sync integration, and SmartLink translation management system Spoke were the compatibility updates for this week. We did have 2 fixes as well. Domain Tools Iris Direct or Iris Detect and Wiz integration for configuration compliance had some little fixes for their applications. There was 1 ghost application. It's actually from ServiceNow, and it was the Instant Security Center, which you can see is showing as no longer found in the ServiceNow store. So it ghosted us. It's gone. Instant Security Center. I think that was planned. I think that it was replaced by something else. I don't remember right off the top of my head, but I don't think that was news to me. I wasn't surprised to see that. We'll come back to the highlights here. We had 10 minor updates. Checklist Pro, Control Assurance, CrowdStrike Falcon Exposure Management for Vulnerability Response, FMDB Financial Management Database, Health 360, ITOM/ITSM integration for Datadog, Lockbox, Security Scorecard for Vendor Risk Management, Service Portal Dashboards, and Zoom Contact Center were the minor updates for this episode. And release notes failed. We had 4 of them. A release note fail means that there were no release notes, repeated release notes, or in the case of this week with Tanium, there were references to documentation for release notes that I went and looked at and couldn't find the release notes for this particular version. So they were Carbon Control, GenAI Observer, Tanium Patch Management for IT Operations Preview. That might be why I couldn't get the release notes for that one, because it's in preview mode. And Tanium SDK. Now, if you guys know who's on Tanium, it looks like they're trying really hard to direct people to the proper release notes. So I just may need a little help there if you guys know who maintains those. I want to send them my direction so I can better support and better showcase those applications when we're going through these in the episode. But those were the release note fails for this episode, which brings us to the good stuff. The new releases is where we're going to start here, and the first one on our list is Crow Cyber Economic Risk Analyzer. Crow Cyber Economic Risk Analyzer can help your team describe needed risk mitigations in terms that will resonate with your leaders, provide straightforward views of potential economic loss from various factors based on your company's information and profile. We do have some key features listed out below, which include with support from the SSIC X Analytics platform. This application uses industry-specific historical cyber event data to determine your organization's inherent loss exposure if your information security program did not exist. The solution helps to identify current residual loss exposure based on the information security program, control maturity, and cyber insurance policy. Program users will identify control mitigation and risk transfer strategies to close the loss exposure gap to attain the target loss appetite, and provide straightforward views of potential economic loss from various risk factors. And we actually read that from the description there. So let's scroll back up and look at the screenshots. First one is the Sarah for Executives in the legacy dashboards. So we're looking at some KPIs or single score indicators for total cyber exposure, data breach percentage of cyber exposure. I'm just going to sip some random sample ones. There's more on the dashboard than just that. The second screenshot is a performance analytics hub, showing the how that metric. This particular one is the max cyber exposure by month, how that breaks down over time, and there's some breakdowns on the left for applications, it looks like. The next screenshot is a form view of the Sarah threat analysis. I hope I'm saying Sarah right. If not, please leave me a note in the comments down below. And then we're back to our dashboard. So that is what's new from Crow LLP. Our next new application is going to be FMDB for IT Asset Management, or ITAM, accurate and defensible total cost of ownership for the life cycle of an asset. Key features: application to integrate ITAM with FMDB. I think they're referring to with that FMDB is what we saw in, I think it was the minor updates section, where there were some updates to that application. There are some screenshots. First one is going to be in a workspace. This is the Enterprise Asset Workspace showing asset details. And on the right-hand side is a graphic of total cost of ownership by expense category. So that's pretty cool. Let's take a look at the second screenshot. It's asset analytics in the Enterprise Asset Workspace, and we're looking at asset reach benchmark cost by category, assets expense distribution, and monthly asset expense distribution for the last 12 months. Next screenshot is the Nycus FMDB for asset management. It looks like a UI page for file uploads, asset configuration, allocation calculations, update asset management, and some configuration options. So this must be for like the admin or the asset manager to come in and look at it. And that's the screenshots for this application, and that's what's new from Nycus Software Incorporated. All right, our third new release is SOW Synthetic Monitoring. Ensure flawless digital experiences with proactive performance insights through synthetic monitoring. This is from ServiceNow, but it is an Innovation Lab offering. Let me fix my annotation tool there so you can see it's from the Innovation Lab. Not available for production, is not supported, does not carry no warranties, but it is available on subprod and developer portal instances. The key features: create and manage synthetic tests to replicate end user transactions for critical services, get real-time notifications for performance degradations or outages before they impact users, and visualize synthetic test results, track KPIs, and share insights with stakeholders. There's no screenshots on this one, so that's what's new from the team at ServiceNow. The second one is also from ServiceNow. I think it's a component related to the application we just saw. It's called Synthetics Glide App. It ensures flawless digital experiences with proactive performance and insights through synthetic monitoring. Also in the Innovation Lab, not supported, no warranties. And it has the same key features on the application we just read. So we'll move on to our next new application. This one is called Text Adjust Neurodiversity Tool. Empower your reading, transform web pages with custom fonts and spacing for neurodiverse users. There's no key features. I don't see any key features. So let's take a look at the summary here. The Text Adjust Neurodiversity plugin is a Chromium-based supplemental reading comprehension web tool for users with neurodivergent conditions like dyslexia, autism, ADHD, and other cognitive disabilities. This utility enables the user to change the web page's user interface by font replacement and adjusting the spacing of the words and paragraphs on the page. Features include the ability to adjust the default font on a web page with a different font family and spacing of letters, words, line height, and paragraphs on a web page. So this looks like a web extension, and you're installing it through a zipped extension file. Okay, so it is an extension that you're going to load in Chrome or Microsoft Edge, which is built on Chromium. And so yeah, I don't even see there's a download button instead of a get app. So it looks like this is just downloading the zip file, which you could then put in your web browser. It does make you log in, so that's interesting for those of us that don't. Right now, I'm not associated with the partners. So I don't know how to log in to actually log into the ServiceNow store. But yeah, you'll be able to go in there and download that extension. So that's what's new from the team at ServiceNow. All right, next up in the new releases is going to be Update Set Portal Component Library. Enhance your ServiceNow service portal with our custom directives plugin. And that text was surrounded by rocket ships, which is awesome that they put that in the description. I love it. Let's scroll down past the summary to the key features. Portal Component Library, as the name describes, is a modern, non-opinionated component library for ServiceNow Service Portal. It allows for rapid development of ServiceNow widgets by simply importing our widget dependency and using one of our 31 pre-made Angular directives. These directives allow customers to minimize the amount of code needed to build a beautiful widget with a modern UI. There are some screenshots. Let's take a look at the screenshot. First one is a change request, and we're looking at the activity history on the change request. I don't see quite what's different other than the history itself looks different. It doesn't open up like I'm normally used to seeing. And then the next screenshot is showing a list of change requests. On the left-hand side are some groups, and above that are some graphics around tasks by class and tasks by state. I'm not sure if this is front end or back end, but yeah, that's the second screenshot, and then we're back to the first screenshot for this new application from UpdateSet LLC. All right, our next and last new application is going to be XOps, or XOps, Spoke. XOps, it's time for autonomous IT operations. Let's see here. Key features. Declarative actions enables developers to create, retrieve, and update XOps or XOps runbooks and employee records without writing complex scripts. Let me know in the comments if I'm saying that correctly. API abstraction abstracts direct API interactions, providing simplified actions for developers within the ServiceNow Flow Designer. Error handling provides robust exception handling for API failures, including retries and descriptive error messages. Flexible input validation validates inputs such as employee data, runbook parameters, and API queries to ensure consistency. Let's take a look at their screenshots. First one's going to be a Flow Designer action. We're looking at the, what's the name of the action? Create an employee action, and there's a REST step that they've got showing on the screen and how all that's configured. Next screenshot is the installed spokes. So when you're in Flow Designer and you're searching for an action, they're showing that for XOps or XOps. Next screenshot is the flow history. So if you run a flow, you can see how that went, and it's showing the trigger, which is a scheduled trigger or run once. And then this particular flow created an employee, got an employee, updated an employee, got the employee again, created a runbook, a timer waited for a certain amount of time, then they got the runbook, they updated the runbook, and then they got the runbook, and then they canceled the runbook. Interesting. I've never read a flow like that before. And that's all their screenshots, and that's what's new from the team at Experience Ops Incorporated. Wish I had noticed it was Experience Ops, and I would have not said XOps. I could have said Experience Ops. So now I know. You don't need to leave a comment. I know how to say it now. We did have 4 highlights. The first one is going to be Aguaro. Aguaro was updated to version 3.0.0. And let me tell you, everybody, one of the best release notes of the episode. It's very, very detailed. They're calling it a major release. And I'm not going to be able to read it all, unfortunately. But there are some features that they've added around collection, interfaces with third-party/imports tools, the platform, and regulatory reporting. And there's also some enhancements around collections, data, platform, regulatory reporting, and user experience. And then there's some defect, I'm assuming fixes, around collection, data, interfaces with third-party/imports tools, action plan, and strategy. Now there's a lot more text and details about what exactly those features, enhancements, and defects were. So if you're interested in this, go take a look at Aguaro's excellent release notes in the ServiceNow store. Our next highlight is going to be Genesis Cloud Connector, updated version 1.2.1. In this version, they introduced new screen pop feature that performs search and displays ServiceNow entities based on customer data parameters, added configuration toggle to disable screen pop functionality for outbound interactions, implemented validation checks on property pages to prevent connector feature selection when prerequisite plugins are missing. Call duration is included in the interaction metadata for callback interactions, and automated creation of phone logs in ServiceNow for all Genesis voice interactions. Our next highlight is going to be Regology, Regulatory Intelligence, updated version 1.6.5. And in this version, they have support for the Xanadu release. You'll notice that this is a minor release if you're watching the video, but I left it in the highlights because they've got a lot of information in here about what's been changed, and it could be a major, but they've classified it as minor. They updated the law-lib reg hierarchy flow to populate Regology status, topic, summary, and AI-generated summary for authoritative documents. Populate taxonomy mapping for authoritative documents and citations. Taxonomy mapping includes the jurisdiction and agency mappings corresponding to the authoritative document. The updated alerts flow. Populate Regology severity, summary, relevancy rating, and relevancy reason. Under controls flow, this flow will sync controls from Regology as control objectives in ServiceNow. And in requirements flow, this flow will sync requirements from Regology as control objectives in ServiceNow. And updated set Regology configuration with create controls for control objectives flag. All right, that was quite a mouthful, bordering on too much to read, but we'll take a look at the next and last highlight for our episode. It's SailPoint Identity Security Cloud Service Catalog, updated to version 4.0.3. And in this version, modular application, 10 plus widgets, and more in future, native ServiceNow experience via record producers, increased localization support, changing all references of Identity Now to Identity Security Cloud, extending approval logic to applications, and entitlements linked with roles. And that is what's new from the team at SailPoint Technologies. And that, everyone, is our entire episode. Kept it nice and brief this time. So what you just saw or heard was 7 new releases, 4 highlights, 6 compatibility updates, 10 minor updates, 1 ghost application, 2 fixes, and 4 release notes fails. I hope you found this video or podcast helpful. If you did, please like, please subscribe, or share with somebody who you think might be interested in what's new, what got updated, or what was removed from the ServiceNow store. And until next time, don't forget to always be learning.